Hey everyone, if you've been waiting for news about another stimulus check, I need you to stop what you're doing and listen to this. The Federal Reserve just released a report that changes everything we thought we knew about direct payments in 2025. And I'm not talking about rumors or speculation. I'm talking about official documents that most people won't even know exist. I'm Tony from Retirees Benefits, and I spent the last 3 hours reading through dense Federal Reserve documents so you don't have to. What I found is going to surprise you, and it affects millions of struggling families right now. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button because I'm the only channel breaking down these complex financial reports into plain English that actually helps real families. So, let me start with the bottom line. What is the Federal Reserve actually trying to accomplish here? According to the report I read titled Economic Impact Assessment of Direct Consumer Payments, the Fed is looking at three specific goals for 2025. First, they want to address what they're calling persistent economic vulnerability in American households. That's fancy talk for the fact that millions of families are still struggling to pay rent, buy groceries, and cover basic needs. Second, they're concerned about something called economic multiplier effects. Basically, when people get stimulus money, they spend it immediately on necessities, which pumps money directly into the economy. The Fed's own data shows that every dollar in direct payments generates about $167 in economic activity. And third, and this is huge, they're looking at stimulus payments as a way to prevent what they call economic cascade failures. Think about it like this. When families can't pay rent, landlords struggle. When landlords struggle, property values drop. When property values drop, banks get nervous. It's all connected. But here's what the report doesn't say directly. That means nearly 7 out of 10 single moms are struggling with basics like housing, food, or utilities. If you're a mom watching this, you're not alone and you're not failing. The system is failing you. Veterans are another group highlighted in this report. Despite all the programs that are supposed to help, 23% of veteran households are still dealing with persistent economic hardship. That's almost 1 in 4 veterans who served our country and are now struggling to make ends meet. The report also calls out disabled Americans. Here's a direct quote. Households with disabled family members show 40% higher rates of economic instability compared to the general population. 40% higher. That's not a small difference. That's a crisis. And then there's the unemployed and underemployed. The Fed's data shows that while official unemployment numbers look good, there are still 8.2 million Americans who are either unemployed or working part-time because they can't find full-time work. But here's what really got my attention. The report mentions emerging vulnerable populations. They're talking about people who used to be middle class but have fallen into financial hardship. Teachers, nurses, retail workers who used to get by just fine but now can't afford rent increases and grocery price hikes. All right, so what's actually changing? This is where things get complicated, but I'm going to break it down as simply as possible. The Federal Reserve is recommending what they call targeted economic interventions. In plain English, that means they want stimulus payments, but not the way we've seen them before. Instead of sending checks to everyone, like in 2020 and 2021, they're proposing what they call precision targeting. The report suggests focusing on specific groups. Households earning under $40,000, families with children under 18, people receiving disability benefits, and unemployed individuals. Here's the dollar amounts they're discussing, and these are directly from the report. $800 for individuals, $1, $200 for heads of household, and $400 per child. So, a single mom with 2 kids could potentially receive $2,000. But, and this is important, they're also talking about making these payments recurring rather than one time. The report mentions quarterly disbursements over a 12-month period. That could mean payments every 3 months for a full year. The report also suggests expanding eligibility for what they call economic hardship indicators. That includes people who've had their hours reduced, people dealing with medical debt, and families who've experienced housing displacement. So, when could we actually see these payments? This is where I have to give you both the official timeline and the reality check. According to the Fed's report, they're recommending that Congress act on this by the end of Q2 2025. That means by the end of June. If Congress actually moves on this, and that's a big if, we could potentially see the first payments as early as August or September 2025. But here's the reality. The report also acknowledges what they call legislative implementation challenge. Getting Congress to agree on anything is complicated. The report does note that there's bipartisan support for targeted relief. Republicans like the idea of helping working families and veterans. Democrats want broader support for vulnerable populations. There might actually be common ground here. However, the report also mentions concerns about inflation and government spending. Some economists argue that more stimulus could drive prices higher. Others argue that targeted payments to low-income families actually help stabilize the economy. Now, I don't want to leave you feeling hopeless because there is genuinely good news in this report. First, the Fed is taking economic hardship seriously. This isn't politicians making promises. This is economists and financial experts saying we need to help struggling families. That carries weight. Second, the report shows that previous stimulus payments worked. They kept millions of families housed, fed, and able to pay their bills. The data proves these. Third, there are things happening right now that can help while we wait. The report mentions increased funding for existing programs. SNAP benefits, housing assistance, and utility help programs are all getting more money. And here's something most people don't know. The report recommends expanding what they call bridge programs. These are immediate assistance programs that help families while they wait for larger relief. Many states are already implementing these. For example, if you're behind on rent, there might be emergency rental assistance available in your area right now. If you're struggling with utility bills, many states have expanded their energy assistance programs. The key is knowing where to look and how to apply. I've got videos covering all of these programs, and I'll link to the most important ones in the description. Look, I know waiting for government action is frustrating. Trust me, I hear from families every day who are struggling right now today and can't wait for Congress to make decisions. So, here's what you can do while we wait for potential payments. First, check your eligibility for programs that already exist. SNAP, WAC, Medicaid, housing assistance. These programs can provide immediate help. I have a complete guide to applying for assistance that I'll link below. Second, look into your state's emergency assistance programs. Most states have funds available right now for people dealing with housing, utility, or food emergencies. These programs often have shorter wait times than federal programs. Third, if you're unemployed or underemployed, check out workforce development programs in your area. Many of these programs provide financial support while you're training or looking for work. Fourth, don't forget about tax credits. The Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit can put thousands of dollars in your pocket. If you haven't filed your 2024 taxes yet, make sure you're claiming everything you're entitled to. And finally, build your support network. Connect with local community organizations, churches, and mutual tracking every development and breaking it down for you in terms that actually matter to your daily life. No political spin, no complicated jargon, just the facts you need to know. Based on similar situations in the past, we'll probably see movement on this by late spring or early summer. That means we could have a clearer picture by April or May. In the meantime, keep advocating for yourself and your family. Contact your representatives. Tell them your story. Politicians need to hear from real people dealing with real problems. And remember, you're not asking for handouts. You're asking for support during difficult times. And that's exactly what these programs are designed to provide. Before you go, I want you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I'm going to be following this story closely, and you'll want to know immediately when there are updates. Second, share this video with anyone who needs to hear this information. Your sharing helps these videos reach more families who need this information. Third, check out the videos I've linked in the description. I've got guides to emergency assistance, tax